Good evening. Welcome to the Milford Township Municipal Building and the Monthly Planning Commission meeting. At this time, I call the meeting of August 6, 2024 to order. All please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you haven't signed the attendance sheet on the back, that round table back there, please do that for the record. Next, I'd like to introduce the members of the Planning Commission and our support staff. Starting on my far left is Dave Gate. Next to him is excuse me, Ray Reed. Coming closer here is Scott Stewart and Doug Roseanne. Starting on my right over there is Denise Bizarro, the recording secretary. Next to her is Tony Sitter and my buddy Pete Cabea. And in the rear on the right here is Julie Maggio and Matt Puz. They are the zoning and development people. And in the rear on the left there is Lydia Caparosa, the Concept Council. Next to her is Matt Wallinger, the Director of Planning and Development, and I'm Gene Strohmeyer, the Chairman of the Planning Commission. Before we begin, I'll call for a motion to accept the minutes of last month's meeting as written.
Motion to accept. Motion to accept.
Motion to accept. Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good, thank you. Milford Planning Commission is a recommending body that hears testimony, asks and answers questions, deliberates and passes our recommendations on to the supervisors who make the final decisions on issues brought before us. The subdivision discussed tonight, if acted on by the Planning Commission, will be considered by the Township Supervisors at their regular meeting to be held on Tuesday, August 27th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. in this room. The rezoning and minor amendments to the zoning ordinance discussed tonight, if acted on by the Planning Commission, will be considered by the Township Supervisors at their regular meeting to be held on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. in this room. In order to keep a smooth flow of information and not have the meeting run unnecessarily long, I ask that everyone wishing to speak either for or against an issue, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. I may also say that if a point has been made by a speaker and there are others who share that view, it is not necessary for all to be recognized and speak, as the Commission will consider all testimony. The first item on the agenda tonight is a replot of land for, excuse me, for Bethsaida Holdings. It's a subdivision plan to show the creation of a 2,936 square foot parcel A and a 335 square foot parcel B from 3220 West 32nd Street, which are to become an integral part of 3210 West 32nd Street, creating a 23,613 square foot parcel with a 9,424 square foot residual lot in tract 23. Someone here to speak on this? Sir, please come up, give us your name and address.
I'm Shad Sandell, the survey chief and project manager for CT Consultants, 25674 North Mosiertown Road, Edinburgh.
Okay. Here we are. Right. Anybody have any questions? Do you have anything to say, more to say about it?
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or
It's all in order.
anything for him? Okay.
All right,
Very much, sir.
thank you.
That was easy, wasn't it?
I think I'm going to go in
Any comments
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone else care to speak about this? Okay, thank you. I think we're going to go in order here. Okay. So I'm going to have the Township Solicitor say a few words here before we begin with this item as far as the rezoning goes.
Thank you, Jean. Before, Matt, do you typically introduce these, like what the next item is?
Mr. Chairman, could you just do the introduction for the rezoning, and then Ms. Caparosa can speak to it?
I can do that. Okay. It's called 3531 LLC for property located at the southeast intersection of Westlake Road and Linden Avenue and addressed as 3531 Westlake Road, now zoned MU1 Neighborhood Mixed Use and R1 Single Family Residential, asking for the parcel to be classified as MU1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly before we begin, I wanted to just address what will be occurring at this stage with respect to this public comment period. So before the Planning Commission right now is a petition to rezone the parcel from MU1 and R1 to just MU1. We are aware that there are a number of concerned neighbors and citizens regarding this requested rezoning and potential development of that parcel. But at this point in time, the township has not received any development plans for anything to go in there, so we are not here to comment on or provide a recommendation regarding any plans that have been submitted. Nothing has been submitted other than a request for rezoning. So again, as Chairman Strohmeyer indicated, we request the comments be kept to a succinct, not repetitive, and really be focused on the request for rezoning and not so much the proposed use that may happen. Because again, we've not received any plans concerning any development. We're really here to focus on the rezoning request from R1 to MU1. Thank you. Oh, actually I should mention, to the extent the rezoning is granted and anything moves forward, those plans for development would have to proceed through the township's general ordinances concerning land development. So they would have to follow the subdivision and land development process, which would involve additional hearings and opportunity for the public to comment on what the plan would be and how that could be modified to, maybe suit the concerns of the neighborhood. But again, that is not the subject of tonight's hearing. It is really to discuss the request for rezoning to MU1. Thank you.
Okay.
Is someone here to represent? Go ahead.
Who is here to represent that? Please.
Hi, my name's Eric Molina. I'm the owner of Paternity Molina Construction, and I live at 127 Harrison Drive in Edinburgh, PA.
My name is Robin Shepner. I live at 3276 Lakefront Drive, and I am the owner of the property.
Okay. Do you have anything to say about this at all? Or
I mean, at this time, we're just trying to make it all an MU1, if you don't want to see the plans.
No,
Okay.
that's not what we're here for tonight. Okay, and nothing else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm assuming there are people who want to speak about this. So one at a time, please come up here and give us your name and address.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nicole Fiersdorf. I currently reside at 817 Linden Avenue. I've been a Mill Creek resident for 30-plus years and a resident of Linden Avenue for the last decade. I'm here tonight to implore you to not approve the rezoning of 3731 Westlake Road. Specifically, we are here in hopes you will deny the ability to build an access road in between 817 and 825 Linden Avenue, which I think is relevant in terms of the rezoning, because if this were approved, they would be able to proceed with utilizing that to their discretion. This access road would connect Linden Avenue to the parcel of land directly behind our homes, shown here. Bill, if I could have you up here, please. This potential access road is a mere 7 feet from my home. On a piece of paper, 7 feet is a number, but if I were my home, and then this is where the proposed road or entrance or access road or whatever could connect the parcel to Linden Avenue, this is how close it could potentially be. Now I'd like to go to 5 feet, and this, my neighbor Dustin, this is how close his home could be to any potential access road. I'd also like to show, I printed out some pictures because I'm a visual learner. So right here, you'll see this orange arrow. This is my home, and this is where that potential access road could go. This is, and I'd like everybody to see this as well. So here's our home, and then this right here is where the potential road would go, 7 feet from our house. This is another angle for everybody to see. Here's where the 7 feet would be. Here's where the potential road. This is my neighbor Dustin's home, 5 feet, right here, would be right next to his house. And then if you look at this picture, this is 7 feet from my house and 5 feet from Dustin's house. I just wanted to say that if any potential buffers are suggested or privacy fences, they're truly unacceptable in terms of safety. Any type of buffers could be easily knocked down in the case of a driver with a medical emergency or someone under the influence or even an accidental case. How many times do we hear that where cars accidentally run into homes that aren't 7 to 5 feet from a road? I think our biggest grievance as a community is that there are so many other potential entrances and exits. So if this rezoning were to proceed, we would please, please do not allow them to use that as an access road. There is a numerous plot of land on Westlake Road, which I've taken pictures with, and I actually had to take multiple photos because one shot would not fit in my camera. So you can see here all the potential entrances and exits on Westlake Road, as well as all of the potential entrances and exits. I'm standing on Linden and I'm facing Westlake Road in these photos. Linden Avenue is a quiet street with families who have young children, families who have dogs. We have members of the elderly and as well as the special needs communities. We do not want the additional traffic that this potential rezoning threatens to bring. We do not want this access road, which could lead to potentially disastrous ramifications. We have a petition on change.org currently, and I actually just checked it prior to this meeting, and we are up to over 429 signatures of, just since Saturday alone, of concerned citizens who are opposing this potential access road and rezoning that could come with this. We are going to fight to gain more momentum and more buzz regarding this. I ask you to please empathize with our situation when you're making your decision. Would you want any of your loved ones to reside a mere 5 to 7 feet from a road? Would you feel comfortable sitting in your backyard if cars were zooming past 5 to 7 feet from you? Let's face it, everybody on Linden Avenue is a low to middle income family. We don't have copious amounts of money to fight this. We don't have lawyers on retainer. Our only voice is our community and the hopes that you as the Planning Commission members will understand our pleas and not approve this zoning. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot some of my stuff up here.
Sir.
Hello, I'm Dustin Thornton from 825 Linden Avenue. I'm going to try to shift gears a little bit to what you asked for. I completely support my neighbors. I agree. Clifton Avenue, 10th Street, Linden Avenue, everybody I've talked to agrees. I've talked to everybody up and down all the streets. This is relevant. This has been done before, recently. This was just proposed to be a high-end restaurant and shopping center, and we've all been here. I recognize all of you from last time I spoke here. That development had a plan. They had a plan, they needed rezoning, same scenario. We were presented a plan because that was supposed to improve our community. That was supposed to make things better. That was a plan they brought as leverage to help convince the changes that they needed to be made. We're lacking that. We don't have a plan. Why? It's a very simple question, and the answer is obvious. We don't have a plan because nothing that any of us want to go in there is going to happen. Nothing fits there. I was told personally by the owner that this is going to be luxury housing. Luxury housing does not fit in a smaller than a city block area. It isn't possible. It doesn't make sense. She said luxury duplexes. Okay, that sounds like Copperleaf Estates up on, above Coons Road by the mall. That's a big sprawling community. It's beautiful. There's a dog park. There's multiple streets. There's dozens of homes. It is truly a luxury community. To put that same thing where we're talking about doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit there. Putting, luxury housing off of, as was mentioned, I'll admit it, it's the income level on Linden Avenue is not high. The houses are older. They're, I would say the majority of them are around 1,000 square feet. If I was pulling into my luxury community, I would not want to drive through my neighborhood. I apologize to the neighbors for saying that, but it's a fact. I wouldn't want to drive through my neighborhood. It would be the equivalent of, driving through the Franklin Terrace to, to get to a regular street. And it just, we wouldn't want to do that. But on another note, this is going to put a strain on Linden Avenue no matter how we look at it. It's a road that's not very well plowed. It's not very well maintained. But it is okay. We don't need a new road yet. But if we bring all this traffic to Linden, we're going to need more plows. We're going to have a lot more delivery trucks. We're going to have a lot more traffic in general. Frankly, the kind of community that fits in that location, there's not going to be a lot more vehicular traffic. There's going to be a lot more foot traffic. That's going to mean a lot more crime. That means the police are going to have to start patrolling. And I wouldn't want to tell a bunch of strangers this, but they don't patrol Linden Avenue. They don't need to. It's a quiet street. As I was passing out letters inviting the neighbors to come here today, I was able to open storm doors and slide letters indoors. None of the doors were locked. I delivered them late in the day on Saturday. Of course, mail doesn't come again until Monday, so mailboxes just didn't seem like the right place to put those letters. So, like I said, I knocked on every door. I talked to everyone that I could. I'm here to fight for our neighborhood. Primarily, I own the house where this road would come through, so yes, that's what I care about most. But secondly, the traffic on the street. I've been on Linden Avenue my entire life. It was my grandfather's house before I purchased it. We've been there for a long, long time now ourselves, and it's just going to ruin our whole neighborhood. Anything that could really happen back there, and it just needs to be either something nice, something that benefits the community, or nothing. That property could stay vacant. It's going to gain value. It's not going anywhere. The historical landscape that you love will always be there. Put a park bench there. Leave it to your kids. Leave it to your grandkids. But don't ruin our neighborhood, please.
Wendell Thornton. I'm Dusty's dad. I've been associated with that home since I met my beautiful wife a long time ago. I'm married 48 years, and so we know that property pretty well. And one of the things I can tell you is the address on here is 3531 Westlake Road. It's not on Linden Avenue. Safety factor, I worked at safety with GE and Ridgerack. If you pull out on Linden Avenue, you have to really go quick because there's a lot of brush and trees and stuff there. You can't see up the road. So when you turn out of there, you gotta turn out of there fast. So you're actually putting them at a disadvantage if they gotta pull out of their driveway on Linden and exit on 8th Street. There has been no problems with the driveway for the Aviation Club for as long as I can remember. They always pulled out on 8th Street, and it's safer than pulling out on Linden. Because on Linden, you don't have the room to get around the corner, because you look and you see cars coming, you better stop because you're not going to be able to beat them unless you have a real fast car. But for safety reasons, I think that's better. and it goes in conjunction with what everybody else has said ahead of me. And that brush should still be cleaned out in front of those houses west of Linden Avenue, because it's very difficult to pull out of that street. And it's not so difficult to pull out where the Aviation Club driveway is, because you have more leeway and you can see traffic coming more easily. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, everybody. Dominic Berlin. I live at 820 Linden Avenue. My main concern with all of this and the rezoning is it's going to open the opportunity for more commercial properties. I'm a local truck driver. I drive and I go to every commercial property you can think of in the whole city. My main concern is if you look at our neighborhood, especially around Halloween, there's hundreds of kids in these streets. There's kids in these streets every single day riding their bikes, walking their dogs, doing whatever. You're going to have commercial vehicles, you're going to have cleaning crews, you're going to have whatever goes in there is going to need maintained, is going to need taken care of, is going to need serviced, going to get deliveries. Why would you have them come anywhere near the middle of the block? Why wouldn't you have commercial vehicles out on Westlake Road, which is a truck route? This driveway is fine, there's not a lot of houses down there, but trying to put a driveway all the way the hell down here in the middle of the block is going to disrupt the whole neighborhood. So my main concern with this, I got two boys, they're 8 and 6, they ride their bikes up and down the road all day. As it is right now, you got drivers flying down our road 40, 50 miles an hour. You're going to put some sort of property there, we don't know what it is. You're going to have more traffic down there. I just think it's not a very bright idea. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Bokikio, 818 Clifton Drive. Several years ago, when they rerouted the airport runway, we caught a lot of that traffic coming up and down our street. When I bought the house 24 years ago in 2000, it was a great area. Kids could ride their bikes on the street. Since that airport runway project, excuse me, traffic has increased fivefold. Anyone who lives in the area, and cars fly up and down Clifton, I've seen it on Linden. I mean, they go to from the stop sign on 10th Street down to 8th Street, and I hear them go through 2 or 3 gears. All you're doing is bringing more people into a residential neighborhood and trying to build it up, and it's already being abused, and it's not being enforced. The speed limit, I mean, people are hitting 40, 50 miles an hour. I feel you've already damaged my property value with that runway extension and the way you rerouted the traffic, and you're just continuing to do that to my property value. My wife and I work extremely hard. We have remodeled the entire place. We are up on the maintenance. We keep a beautiful property, and to feel like I have people coming in there and just going to kick our legs out from under us and take that value away, that is not the way you should be treating people who pay their taxes and take care of their properties. Thank you.
Hello, Sam Comfort, 903 Linden Avenue. Instead of going back through everything that's said, and I wholeheartedly agree with everything that's been said, I kind of want to just bring it to summation where when looking at this commission's mission and the planning commission's mission in the planning department on the township website, there's a few different things that lend themselves to a mission statement, but 2 of them that stuck out to me is community livability and quality of life, and then 3 is strengthening community dialogue and understanding. So what we're doing here today is essentially those 2 things. I do believe firmly that if this is allowed to be rezoned and the development that's being discussed occurs, our quality of life will diminish for all the reasons that have been already passed along. I'm not necessarily against any form of development, but development without a plan, I mean, really, let's look at that. Why would you request to rezone this size of a parcel that's already zoned MU1 and R1 to strictly only be MU1 without any form of plan? To me, that's something that's either underhanded, shady, or something that's just not on the up and up is happening. And for that reason, I implore you to oppose this, and if it does go forward, I would implore the supervisors to also oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Juan Llarena, 920 Beaumont Avenue. Live about 2 blocks away, and I'm here in support of my neighbors. This is what I see happening with developers. They come in, they buy a property with a zoning, and then they want to up the zoning at the expense of others. What they do after that, they could sell it for a higher price because the zoning is now different. There's no reason to change the zoning at this moment for this property. There's no plans in place. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to do it. I would suggest deny the change for now.
Anyone else? Oh. You can be next.
Hello, my name is Mark Miller. I live at 728 Linden, and I totally agree with everything that they've said so far. But one thing I wanted to point out was, based on everything, that section that they're trying to rezone is zoned as a single-family residential district. If you look at the code, it says the purpose is intended to preserve the character of existing single-family neighborhoods, which is what that section is that they're trying to rezone to this mixed thing. And I totally disagree with what they're trying to do. It should stay single-family residential district. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Heidi Bender. I'm associated with 817 Linden. That's my sister and my nephew. And that's why I wanted to speak. It's about the safety and security of the children on Linden Avenue. There are kids playing in the streets, there are kids riding their bikes. Most importantly, they're my nieces and nephews. Look at this. Look at this. Who thinks it's a good idea to have a road next to this lake? Who thinks that's a good idea when there are other options? And I know you said, oh, this is just a rezoning meeting and there aren't any plans, so we should just confine our comments to that. But I think it's really, really important when you make that decision with the rezoning that you consider the babies, the daughter they have on the other side, that 5 feet from her bedroom, there's going to be a road. People could land in her bedroom. I really think that where there are other, and I implore you, where there are other options for entrances and exits, redo your plans, because we have been told by them that that's going to be a roadway. I mean, who thinks that's a good rezoning idea? I can't even imagine. That's it. That's all I had to say. Please protect, take the children.
I'm an old woman that lives on Linden Avenue, 727. I've been there for 60 years. It's been a wonderful neighborhood, very friendly, child-oriented. And I just want to say, I hate to see this happen, and it's for the safety of the kids with the skateboards and the bicycles and all the other stuff. And that's basically it. But I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just before we move, you can continue to come up, and I'll be done briefly. I do want to clarify that when I said that no plan has been submitted, we've not received any drawings of what anything is going to look like. So to the extent anyone wants to comment on the use of the property, either the proposed developer, we're not here to discuss where the access roads are located at or not located at. This is simply for a rezoning for the use of the property. So if there's been plans, those have not been submitted. But use, we can certainly discuss that.
My name is Howard Foat. I live at 811 Linden Avenue. So it's one door, my next door neighbor, the access that they're talking about is right next door to his. So it's just a door away from me. My concerns are pretty much a laundry list of what everybody else has already said. There's children on the street, you know, they're walking back and forth to school, deliveries going in and out of there. That's going to be an increase in traffic. Privacy is an issue. There probably will be additional parking on the street, which is not to anybody's advantage. Snow removal is probably going to be an issue. One of my big concerns is if there's a fire, is a fire truck even going to be able to go in and out of there? Same thing with police. They're talking about a mixed use, so I have no idea what that is. And as several people have already mentioned, why not use Westlake Road for an entrance? I mean, but overall, I'm opposed to this, and I wish you to deny this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Paul Francis. I live at 438 Clifton Drive. I'm here to support the efforts of my neighbors, who I totally agree with. I would like to add my own take on this. You see, I was in this room for a zoning hearing on the antique shop that currently resides in the 3400 block of East Westlake Road, and it was denied by the commission as a result of all the efforts that the neighbors put in, that they didn't want a car lot to be located where the antique shop is currently. Then it was rejected, and what do we have there now? We have an antique shop with cars parked there that can't even be inspected, not licensed. They're hooked up to 110-volt lights all night long that blink on and off. So I'm very familiar with the efforts of the Planning Commission to stop what is considered a bad practice. And I would like to further emphasize that then the Planning Commission called us to this room, or invited us to this room, for the expansion of the parking lot at the restaurant located at the intersection of Clifton Drive and Westlake Road. And there was an implementation plan. It was a great implementation plan. Laird Engineering put together a storm water management plan for the restaurant to expand their parking lot. Unfortunately, the owners of the restaurant went ahead and hired a non-certified environmental contractor who paved the parking lot and didn't follow the implementation plan, resulting in the fact that they subjected the owners of the restaurant to install 3 underground water tanks to collect the stormwater. The stormwater tanks then were piped into the sanitary sewers, which were added on Clifton Drive at the homeowner's expense in the year 2013, which could handle with the 6 and 8 inch pipes all this sanitary water. So we as residents suggested, and it was reviewed by the Planning Commission, that the efforts of Mill Creek Township to allow the rezoning of taking down a residential property and putting in place a parking lot could therefore progress. Unfortunately, the owners of the restaurant never followed the implementation plan. The water never enters the 3 tanks underground. The water never enters the storm sewers, and I doubt that this area on Linden Avenue has storm sewers, because I've never seen them. So you're already progressing towards another mistake here is what I'm trying to point out. We approved the fact that the restaurant got the parking lot based on the implementation plan. The parking lot people that paved it were not certified to do the work they did. I am currently involved in legal actions with the restaurant to live up to the plan that was approved by the supervisors 9 years ago.
Are you talking about chopsticks?
Yes, sir. The water that exits the
Mr. Francis, if I may interject, we're here to talk about the rezoning with respect to this property and not the chopsticks issue that you're experiencing.
Well, I would like to mention there's a lack of consciousness on the part of Mill Creek Township in what we approve and what we think we approve and what gets approved. That's why I stated I'm presently in a lawsuit arrangement against a party who presented a real nice plan. And this group here is representing another property which they're opposed to development on. There is no sanitary or street sewer line there, and I don't know how you can progress.
No, I understand that, sir, but we're not talking about what's actually going to be developed there. It's really what the proposed rezoning and use would be of the property. We don't have any of that to discuss. So really, we're focused on the request for rezoning.
I will close in saying that there has also been prior decisions made and agreements by Mill Creek Township to increase the sanitary sewer lines below Westlake Road, below this property. This property, which has no water collection, is going to overflow onto Westlake Road. It's going to continue down Beech Grove Drive, Clifton Drive, and there has been previous agreements between Mill Creek and the Department of Environmental Protection to increase the quantity of piping to carry this sewage back up to Westlake Road to take it downtown for proper processing. That planning that is already approved and which released Mill Creek Township from fines and penalties never took place. So you had 217 homes in 1996 with a sewage problem that was to be addressed by Mill Creek that's never been addressed. And now you're going to compound it by changing this zoning to multiple use. Where's that sewage going? Thank you.
Great.
Hi, my name is William Fiersdorf, and I am a resident at 817 Linden Avenue. I've been there for over 8 years. In that time, this house and neighborhood have been the most amazing place to start a family and raise our small children. The quiet atmosphere and friendly neighbors make this neighborhood what it is today. This house has seen even more than that, starting with my wife's grandmother, Rosemary Smith, who purchased the home brand new. This house is her legacy, and this proposal seems to be oblivious to the neighborhood it would be ruining. I'm not naive and know that the property just won't sit vacant forever. But why not have some benefit to the community, something that would uplift the neighborhood where it is located and not detriment it by increased traffic? And something that we can all be proud to live near. I know that some of us here are more affected by this proposal than others, but we are all affected by this proposal due to the neighborhood we live in. This proposal is not beneficial to our community and should be stopped immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
My name is Ellie Selchak. I reside at 928 Linden Avenue. I grew up in Mill Creek. I lived on Ardmore Avenue, and then after that I lived on Chelsea, and then I purchased a beautifully remodeled house on Linden Avenue. We've been there for several years. What I'm requesting is that the board consider the rezoning and think not just short-term and the implications that it's going to have on the community, Lakewood community and the extension. 10th Street is widely traveled. There's a lot of walkers. There's a lot of families traveling that area. I'd also ask you to consider it long-term. So if it was just zoned the way it's with just the M1, excuse me, I hope that's correct. What is the long-term effect of that? We would like to leave our home to our kids. There's a lot of people here that would like to, pass their homes on to their families. What are the long-term effects? So if this rezoning is approved, I'd ask you to consider all the potential things that could go in there and the impact it could have on the community long-term. Beautiful, building condos may be put in, but long-term, what's going to be the effect of that in the neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just quickly address something.
Yes.
Wanted to go back to what you said at the beginning. You said that we're here just about rezoning, that none of these matters are relevant. And I know we've gotten off track a lot. We're all very passionate about this. We all care about our neighborhood. But somehow we've all missed the very important point that you made at the beginning. You said we're here about rezoning, simply rezoning. You said then that if this is rezoned, they will only have to follow the codes and regulations in place. They will no longer need your permission to build whatever they want. As long as it falls within the zoning requirements that are set and they do what they're supposed to do, they can do anything on the list that you sent us in the mail.
Correct.
Yes. And that is why this is relevant. So everything that we've said today, right or wrong, has been relevant because these are all things, just like the owner has not presented a plan, these are all possibilities. These are all things that we're afraid of. And as we said, was proposed to me. I know this isn't formal, but to me it was proposed as luxury housing. We expect that that's not what's going to go in there. And like I said, we shouldn't be rezoning a property without a plan, period. It just doesn't seem like good business sense. Let's face it, Mill Creek as a whole is a business. You wouldn't just bring somebody in blindly and change things. It's zoned residential for a reason. It's business in the front where it's always been. It's residential in the back like it's always been. And if a business goes back there, it's not only going to ruin our neighborhood, but it's going to knock down the woods. It's going to displace all the animals. They're going to be in my yard. They're going to be in your yards. Who knows where they're going to go. But like I said, I just wanted to bring it back full circle and come back to that because that's what you said at the beginning. You said very, very clearly that if the zoning is approved, then they will have to submit a development plan for what they want to do. And I can't quote you exactly, but you said as long as it falls into the proper criteria and meets all the regulations and zoning requirements, it'll move forward. That'll take our say as a community away. That'll take the power of the supervisors and zoning board away, and that'll have us completely blind and just waiting to see what happens. This property hasn't been taken care of since it's been purchased. We're already seeing a slumlord, and the property hasn't even been developed. A plan hasn't been developed. It's been purchased. It's been left there. A big smoke screen was put in front of us, and I was really fortunate to make a phone call and find out what the real plan was. And now that we know, we're going to fight it to every extent that we can.
Hello, I'd like to clarify my point. There is not any stormwater lines on Westlake Road from Marshall Drive to Beech Grove Drive. Beech Grove Drive begins across the street from where this proposed property change for zoning is requested. As a result, the low point on this highway, Westlake Road, Route 5A, is the Chopsticks Restaurant parking lot. Now, they can't help that. They bought the property, they developed the property. But the low point is all that water that falls south of my neighbors here enters Westlake Road's environments. And where does it go? It all comes down to Chopsticks parking lot. I was asked by an attorney recently to videotape it. There is no plan there to collect the stormwater, and now you want to add more properties. Thank you.
Doug, did you have Sir, can you come up for 1 second? We have a question for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
You seem pretty knowledgeable and you've researched this. Now I forgot what the question was.
So while you're thinking of your question, for the last 9 years,
No, seriously.
yes,
You're
for the last 9 years,
the enforcement, like pushing it on us. We're not the body that you should be talking to. It's the supervisors and the township government.
I'll reserve my comment on that answer.
Well, but that's who, if something has been done and it's not being enforced, that's who you should be talking to.
I contacted the supervisors. I'm waiting for their return phone calls, the nice, polite answer I'm giving tonight. I have contacted the Mill Creek Police about the population density, the parking, the handicap parking in front of the restaurant. The restaurant parking extends the end of the vehicles out to the Westlake Road itself.
And I would keep it up.
Yeah.
They tell me the supervisors have never,
Squeaky wheel, because I don't know what else to tell you.
they tell me the supervisors have never given the police department the authority to ticket or remove the cars blocking my egress of Clifton Drive onto Westlake Road. In addition, for the last 9 years, since the Chopsticks parking lot was expanded and created, I honestly tell you, I bought 2 calibrated water meters to put on my sump pumps, and I am pumping 750,000 gallons of water from below my home as a result of this mismanaged project at the restaurant, which had a great implementation plan, but no follow-up and no code enforcement, no zoning enforcement by Mill Creek Township. So you can sell me a bill of goods once, twice, but not 3 times.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to say that I encourage anyone to come look at that little sliver of land between A17 and A25 and see if you would want that, a road over your home there. And I really, it's unbelievable.
Go ahead.
Would you want a business in your backyard? Would you have to say it more relevant to the zoning change?
My name is Melissa Sutter, and I live on 3630 Westlake Road. So we live in the in the Eaglehurst subdivision. I'm sure, I don't know if many of you guys know in Linden Avenue, but my daughters and I, we really enjoy watching the eagles go back and forth on the property. It's a beautiful property. I'd hate to see it ruined with condos, apartments, townhouses. Yes, we've seen deer many times, beautiful property, very well treed right now, but I'm sure townhouses, apartments would ruin that. But I also represent my neighbors. Some of them are back there, and some couldn't come, but we've been talking about it, and we absolutely oppose any rezoning of the property, especially with the absolute lack of information that's being provided. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think Mrs. Shepner
wants to talk.
is raising her
I'm
hand.
sorry. Did she ever hand, I didn't see her hand.
Yeah,
she was.
Sorry, ma'am.
First of all, we hear you. We're not going to be, there's no intention at all to put like a road. There may be a single lane egress that will be. Well, yeah, and I don't,
This is a two-year-old.
please, I'm trying to.
If you,
That easement is already there, it's already deeded to this parcel.
It's never been used since
You've had the luxury of having to use that.
We're asking you to have a park, not put a road.
respectfully, I would request
Well, you
that
know what?
Mrs. Shepner be provided an opportunity to comment.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into the argument, but the point is that easement was there. We were considering using it for an extra egress. The main entrance and exit will be where the old exit was from the AC. We want, like you, to preserve the trees. We plan, the intention for the property that is adjacent to Westlake Wood would be to keep it as treed as possible and to make it a more park-like setting. The,
Just a minute. Let her finish.
Would that benefit
I'm
us?
trying to get to that.
Let her finish.
The idea of this residential development is not some wild and crazy one of these huge, we're talking possibly 19 condos, single-story on half of them and a small percentage with a third bedroom or extra room up top. So it's very low density. They're going to be very finely constructed, very high-end. There will be a lot of common area and a community building. So fully occupied, we're talking about 19 couples, because this is going to be geared more as a senior living, the empty nesters who have that house in Florida and they want to come home for the summer. That's our market.
Excuse me, I just want to make this clear. So I understand what you want to do, but that's not, it could be anything. So once the zoning is done, say somebody comes to you and says, oh, we're going to give you another $100,000 for this property, it can be developed into anything then.
Well,
That's the point.
I can just give, sure. I mean, you can make up anything. They talked about, all of a sudden having more burglaries and things like that. I can just give you my word.
We understand, yeah.
That's what we intend to do, and my construction partners and I are dedicated to doing the very best job we can, be stewards to the land, to be respectful of the stormwater and any other regulations.
But again, we have to think about the next owner. And
Well, if it's already developed into 19
taking
buildings.
MU and you're putting it all the way into the center of neighborhood, and it should stay on Westlake Road.
Well, if under it is now, the MU would allow us to build triplexes. We could increase the density. We're just asking, our plan will be for duplexes, townhouses, if you will.
I just want to be completely clear. You are intending to, you're calling it an egress, but you are intending to put a road between these two homes in the middle of the
That was the plan.
May I ask
But
a
this
question?
is,
Do you have a road?
could you wait?
No, I actually can't. Do you have a road 5 to 7 feet away from your home? Call it an easement, call it a road, call it whatever you want.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I can tell you, yes, she does.
Excuse me, if you're going to be speaking, I would ask that you come to the podium again so that everybody can hear, because this is being recorded so that we can.
My question was, if you and your building company have done the research about like a potential, like the cost of living there for like a rent, and if building that many units, and I understand it's just a plan, there's nothing formally been submitted, if you could keep that occupied with that like standard of rent and things, because I think a lot of concern that comes in with building like a community like that is if you make your profit and you are able to get your money back that you've invested and you decide to send it on, if that level of property cannot be rented at that income level, then what happens to the property? You know, people can't afford it because, you know, cost of living change. So I was just wondering if you guys have done the research and if that level of property is like consistently rented for like a really long time.
We have done some research. We have a realtor on our team. These are not rental units. These will be sold as condos, and they would develop their own condo association. Again, we're talking about 19 residences, very small, intimate, quiet. Why you're not looking at some big plans is because we were seeking to make sure that our duplex 2 units would be approved for the entire layout. Because as it is now, we're restricted. So, are 19 units in 4 acres too much?
Okay, right.
I got your road. Maybe we won't pay the road. Get off my back about the road.
Mr. Chairman?
Off your back about the road, that is
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me.
Leave the room. You.
We would please ask that this be done in a respectful manner.
She's allowed to speak to me that way, but I'm not allowed to represent my child.
Excuse,
That is fine.
we would ask that this be conducted in a respectful manner. It was conducted initially in a very respectful manner, and so we would ask that that continue. Everybody is afforded an opportunity to provide comment. This is not an opportunity to have an argument. If there are additional comments concerning those made by the proposed developer, we would ask that you come to the podium and please make those comments.
Mr. Chairman, and I'll ask for a ruling from our solicitor. We've heard a lot over the past hour, passionate. I would ask if it is appropriate to make a motion to close the hearing and then move forward with discussion of the board. Is that motion appropriate?
That one I can't answer.
You're going to cut us off?
Well, we need a second before
You're going to
vote.
cut us off?
After she just said that it will be a road?
This is, Mr. Fugate, this is not a public hearing, it's just an opportunity to provide comment. So if there are repetitive comments, as we've indicated, we would really ask that those be contained and, you know, once those comments have been made, to not repeat them. So if there are any additional comments at this time, those should be made at the podium, and then the board can move into discussion if there are no other comments.
My name's Jeanette Dugan. I live at 825 Linden Avenue. I've lived at 825 Linden Avenue for the last 6 years. This easement we speak of is, as they stated, 5 feet from our house. As she's previously stated, 19 condos, a common area, and a community building. From here to here. These are all houses. These are backyards. So that's all they have, 19 condos, a community area, and a common area. Sounds like a mini college for elderly people, which is fine. We'd rather it be something not as crazy as it could be. But our biggest concern, as you already know, is the traffic. I know there's no proposal, but they specifically stated all traffic is going to enter and exit on Linden. None is going to enter or exit on Westlake Road. I have nothing else. Honestly, we are a respectful neighborhood, and we want to keep it that way. I respect the new owner. I understand what she's trying to do as a businesswoman. I really do. But at the same time, we are families. This whole area is residential. This is my house. It's just, like someone else said, please drive by. Please drive by, especially now that I've mowed, and look at that easement, and look at the little amount of area for the access road, for the fire trucks that would have to come through. No, a fire truck could not fit through there. I can tell you that right now. The wildlife that has to be torn down, the trees they intend to tear down on their property, on our property. They intend on to tear down a lot more than you understand and realize. That's all I have to say. I really hope that you do look into not rezoning this at all. That's what we would really like to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
I, Paul Francis, support those who have spoken before me, and I just wish to clarify. Let's take all these other issues off the table. Mill Creek has not provided sanitary sewers to support any increased development. Mill Creek has not provided any planning for street sewers for this development. They currently are draining all this water off Westlake Road onto the Eaglehurst subdivision, which has resulted in numerous property owners having to pay for the installation of some pumps to handle the fact that all this water, since John Wascio mentioned the increased runway length, all this infrastructure to adopt is great, but it's not implemented. You can't go forward and keep crushing the citizens that have been paying the taxes on this land. You have to provide the infrastructure. Thank you all.
Thank you. Again.
I just wanted to say that clearly it was stated they are planning a road in between the two houses. You can call it an easement, you can call it a path of egress, you can call it the yellow brick road. It is a road between two very, very narrow houses, and I implore you all to come out and take a look at that. Another thing, I want to bring it back to the rezoning. They can do anything they want once you rezone it. And I think that that is something that everybody needs to think long and hard about before saying yes to this.
As a pragmatist at heart, excuse me, as much as I love the participation, and I still firmly agree with everything here, with all the passion that's being displayed here and the fact that we've still been here and are still discussing zoning and pertinent issues, why doesn't the board move to table this issue until the next month so that you all can come by and actually see what's happening? And we do have the property owner a chance to present the plan that apparently already exists and as the homework has been done upon, so that we can all have a more informed discussion next month as well. That's just a suggestion. You do as you will, but I think that's probably the best for all parties involved at the moment.
My name is Kathy Thornton. I grew up at 825 Linden Avenue. Dustin's my son. And I do have two things to say. The first one is exactly what he just said. I am so opposed of changing the code without a solid plan what is going to be done. That's number one. And the other thing I did want to say, just because it just hit me, when I was a small child, there was a fire in the aviation club, and I am here to tell you, my father had a picket fence that picked up, and what happened is the fire department could not get in to stop the fire, and the whole aviation club went up, and if you want, you can check it out. It was probably about I'm going to maybe guess about 1964. You can look it up, and it happened. They couldn't get through the little easement road that she's talking about using as not only an easement, but an entrance. And they couldn't get a fire truck through there. And it scares the hell out of me to think that cars are going to go in there. And, you know, late at night, it's raining or whatever, they're going to run in and, like, kill one of these kids. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, Dominic Berlin again. I live at 820 Linden. I just have a question for the developers. You said you wanted to preserve these trees on the northern part of the plot, correct? Are you planning on building all the way down in here? All the way south? You understand there's 150, 400-foot trees in there that are going to come down? All the animals that live in there, all the shade that provides for the plots on each side. Sun rises in the east and sets in the west. That shades both sides either time of the day. All that's going to come down to put condos in there? Are these condos going to be tall enough to look over a privacy fence for these neighbors' backyards? Okay, well, just, that's it. Sorry. Thank you.
Mark Miller, 728 Linden. As she came up and she said she wanted to preserve that section with trees and whatnot. So then what is the point of rezoning from residential to this mixed? If it's just going to be trees, you don't need to rezone it. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you.
Hey, hi, everybody. My name's Joe Nash, 912 Linden. Environmental health and safety. You have to look at that. Hi, Ray. And you've got to just ask yourself from what you're hearing, in all honesty, is it right? Is it? And I need you guys. I'm at 912. It's not so much of a bother. Maybe. I don't know. But we need you guys to come and look between those two houses. And you say safety. And then you go over and you look at the runoff if there is no stormwater collection, and you say environmental. And when you look at all of it, you're going to say no. Please look.
Is there any?
Hi, Steve Cavlish. I live at 1115 Linden.
Ask him if
I'm not very good at public speaking. I apologize. I have a lot of concerns regarding this, but the one thing that keeps coming back to me is I'm mind-boggled by how we could discuss changing the zoning without a plan being presented. It's like, it makes no sense.
So, the way it works, the way the system is set up, you have to get the zoning first, and then it goes through the building phases of it.
I can understand that, but the zoning is already there.
Well, what,
You're
So
right.
to change it is changing everything.
Can I interrupt a second? You wouldn't spend all the money to develop plans if you can't use the property.
She already bought the land.
Huh?
How did she get the land? She spent money, correct? She knew the zoning prior to
You're
that.
not listening to what I'm saying. Nobody would normally go out and spend all the money to do
I'm
all that.
focused on the zoning part because she over there keeps telling everybody that's speaking that that's what we're talking about.
I have the floor right now. You wouldn't spend all that money unless you knew you could use the property. So the first thing you gotta do is get it rezoned. Now, they may have conceptually ideas of what they wanna do. They may
So did she
have
get the
plans.
property for free?
But you don't.
Because if that's the case, I think there's 1,000 other neighbors that would be more happy with the property.
So we're not against you.
We're not against you.
I'm not saying you are.
All we're saying is that there's a process that has to happen. And
So-
the first part of it is a.
Perhaps it's the way you're saying it. I'm familiar that there's a
Another point
process.
want
I
to
understand
make.
that.
We've all seen the property, so don't go telling us we got
We have
to
all
delay
seen
it so we
what
can
you
go
guys are
see it.
talking
We've
about.
all seen.
We know what
We
you
know
guys are
what we're
talking
talking.
So then you know that they've been maintaining the proposed easement for the past 10 to 20 years. More and more and more, generations. So nobody else has maintained that, but now they have a claim to it. So maybe that could be their part.
That's what-
But I'm a little bit more concerned with, how do I say this? I grew up in Erie City, and I left Erie City to get away from a lot of things. I lived in Mill Creek 10, 11 years now on Linden. And I really enjoy the neighborhood because of the atmosphere for my children. It was perfect to raise my kids, and I have another kid that we're taking care of. There's a building in the city called Fellowship Towers, and that was built to design, or to help people that needed assisted living, elderly, disabled, etc. So she proposes that this is going to be elderly retirees, right? But across the street, they're not going to want to see the restaurant that's never been open in the past 5 years, or the beer distributor. What is going to go there, honestly? From my understanding, it's going to be something that they don't want to talk about. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here wasting our time. there'd already be a plan proposed. Somebody else found the plan, but I heard them say, do you want the plan? And you guys said, no, we're here to talk about the zoning.
That's what we
It was their
So the plan is there, but we're still talking
It
about
was their
zoning.
concept, not their plans, their concept of what they wanted, what she just laid out.
Okay, it's phase one. Thanks for my time.
Wendell Thornton, we owned a house at 825 Linden. I know my father-in-law, he's got paperwork for the deed to that little strip of land at 15 feet. And I talked to Matthew on the phone the other day, and you have to have borders up to protect people on either side. So you're going to compress that. They can't build it on the other side of the line. They have to build it on their side of the line. That's probably a foot or two more on either side. So you're having this narrow strip of land. And in the meantime, probably if we addressed our attorneys, we could get that reversed because we've been paying taxes on it for years. Kathy's father had a picket fence there that you could just lift up and take off. And in all the time, I've been married to Kathy for 48 years, and we knew each other for 3 years before that. And in all that time, I never saw that gate opened. You know, but my father-in-law respected that piece of paper for all those years and paid taxes on it and everything else. And now they're talking about maybe a 11 or 12-foot means of egress. The Aviation Club never had to use that egress. And what's the point? You know? Right, I mean, there's so many other opportunities, and it's not that we're gonna try to take away that property to get it for ourselves or anything like that, but it's theirs, it's an easement, but it's not suitable for any kind of road or street. Now, they could come out through there and drive right across the grass because it's maintained, it's firm. There's no reason to change what's already there.
I think we've heard from all the neighbors here, and we've picked up a lot of things. We talked about this for quite a bit, that's why we were late coming down. And I picked up quite a few things that I had missed. But we thank you all for coming out. We picked up a lot of new things, and we'll discuss them and hopefully make the best decision coming forward here.
Right.
But I thank everybody for coming in, and you really did bring up a lot of great points that I think some of us have missed.
Can I answer a question you guys asked? Sure. You guys asked a question that they can answer. This is for Scott. I don't mean any disrespect, but you asked a question. You said, this isn't how it's really done. You apply for zoning, then you get it, then you submit a plan. Your question was, why would somebody pay for a development plan if they don't have the zoning approved? The really simple answer that I mean no disrespect with is because a responsible zoning board would require it. You don't change zoning without a plan. You don't say that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to clear up a few things here because we've been talking about plans, we've been talking about zoning, and I know it's semantics, but I want everybody to understand the zoning of a parcel, what a parcel is zoned, comes with a list of uses, permitted uses, things that you can do on that property.
Understood.
Okay. And in order for the township to accept, and this is capital letters, a land development plan, an actual official plan for approval, your zoning has to be correct for what you're asking us to approve. Okay? And so they cannot present us an official plan for approval until the zoning matches what they want to do. That doesn't mean that they don't have concept plans, they haven't thought things through, but the township, they could give us something, we couldn't act on it until the zoning set. And so that's why the process is the way it is. They have to ask for a zoning first, and once the zoning meets whatever, requirements that they think they need for their development, then they can submit a plan. And that's why they can show us concepts of what they want to do, but once a property is rezoned, any of those things in that use list could be proposed for that. And so showing us a plan is premature because it cannot be relied upon. It isn't official until their zoning is correct, and then the official plan is submitted. So I just want to clarify that. I don't want, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I can address that. We understand. And so I guess in summary, that's why the community's completely against rezoning.
And I can understand that because it has the
we don't
ambiguity.
trust what could go in there. And so basically, I'd just like to say that everything from our side of the room, everything from our side of our stance is we're against rezoning. Everyone is against rezoning. That's, I think one of the other things we might be missing is, we don't work in zoning and I fully understand this, but I think the mixed industrial part is the front of the lot. The residential is the back of the lot. I only learned that just listening today. The residential part needs to stay residential, period. That's how we all feel. I don't think anybody in the room, except for the developers, would disagree. We want to keep it residential. We want to keep the trees in our backyards. We want to keep families, if we have to, in our backyards, as we already have on the next block. We don't need a business coming in the middle of our two neighborhoods.
And that's why we had mentioned to you, we want you to be aware of what the potential is. Like you said, you did not know that, but there's a
Right.
potential for other things, and we are going to consider all that because we do this more often. But we
Right.
are
All
gonna
at the same
consider-
time.
And that's what I'm saying. We're talking about businesses in our backyard. I know it's your backyard too. So, I completely understand. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to bring it back to the relevant matter of just the zoning itself. Yes, we're all against it. This is why we're against it. Not because of anything that's been formally proposed, even informally proposed, but because of what could happen. And even the best plan is a business in the backyard of a residential neighborhood, and we don't want it. We want it to stay residential. We'd like to keep the quiet neighborhood that it is, and we just don't want it rezoned. I don't know what leverage we have aside from coming together as a community. That's, your expertise, but we're just here to try to do anything we can to stop the rezoning.
As he said, we're really on the same side here, okay? But one of the things that hasn't been mentioned at all, that front portion, instead of being commercial, it would all be residential, that entire block. But they probably can't develop that front if they can't, for residential use, if they can't use the back for residential.
Understood.
So one of the things that you're almost forcing is a commercial use for the front of that property, where you could get a residential
It
use
was
for
just, the property itself was just subdivided all wrong, way, way, way back. It should have never been like that.
Right, but it benefits the community. It benefits the neighborhoods that it's set up that way.
that map.
It should have been all.
And like you said about a business versus residential,
Wouldn't you like to see residential?
this type of residential is a business.
Can I say?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Wouldn't you like to see residential all the way up to Westlake Road?
I would actually like to see that buying this property was a mistake made out of greed, and I'd like the whole thing to fall through, because honestly,
But your property value would be a lot higher if residential went all the way up to,
my property with a wooded lot in my backyard would not go up if you put houses in my backyard.
well, trust me, that's not correct. It's just,
We're not discussing the road.
you're not listening to what I'm saying.
I'm trying, I'm sorry.
The front property was developed into nice condominiums, and I'm not talking about 500,000, I'm talking about 175, 200, whatever. But if that front property was residential, your property value would go up. But
We're not talking about the strip in between.
No.
Right, I understand.
They can't, but they.
Right.
They can't.
Which is the only thing that would
But they
make sense
can't
if
do
the back
residential
stays.
in the front if they don't do residential in the back, is the point I'm trying to make. So you're hamstringing them by, I don't know how else to say it. Everybody could have what they want.
They already have what, I think yours, but they can develop the front without changing the back.
Correct.
From an economic.
That's what we're saying. And that's what the current zoning supports. I do.
I said,
I do understand what you're saying.
They cannot do that.
You're saying it's not practical to develop the front without developing the back as
What
well.
I'm saying is I'd like to see that whole block residential.
Right, because it's not your
Why
backyard.
don't you zone it residential then instead of?
I don't think that we want our property values to increase. We don't want them to decrease. We want to stay in our homes. We want to be where we're at. We're all happy there. We all work to get there, and it's a quiet community that most of us are in family homes that have been in the family for generations. So yeah, we're not really worried about the property value. We're worried about the quiet backyards, and we don't want,
It's a real dilemma, because I believe people should be able to use their property for what they want to use it for, as long as they're not harming anyone else.
Right, but it's also zoned residential for a reason. It's to keep it a residential community, and if we change that to a mixed commercial, then it brings business into my
The
backyard.
front has always been commercial as long as I know. Now it would be
And the
residential.
front's on a very large lot, not next to houses.
Well, look at the size of it. It's bigger than what you're talking
There's
about.
no houses here.
Not all the way.
There's also another business right next door on the other side.
I'm
So
talking
the,
about that whole trapezoid, whatever the heck you call it. That would all be residential.
right,
But then they wouldn't be able to do anything.
it's, right now it's scenic, it's peaceful, it's beautiful, it's wildlife,
said
it's
residential.
what you'd want in your backyard.
Okay, well, that's residential. That's, the whole area would become
But you're not
residential.
looking at.
But we're not businesses, we're families.
Zoning, then it's not residential, then it's anything they want it to be.
Correct.
It can be a marijuana dispensary.
That's
It
another.
can be anything.
That's another issue that we have to deal with.
Well, that's what the zoning says.
Yeah.
Can we move the discussion?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you listening, and I did try my very best to understand and listen and see both sides. It's just, it's very hard because my side is a selfish side. I want to keep my nice quiet backyard. I'm sure you would want the same. And it's like, if I was planning to sell, maybe I would be looking at what would increase the value of the property. But like you said, if a marijuana dispensary, if a strip club goes in my backyard, I don't think that's going to help my property value. And once we rezone it, it's very generic. And I don't think strip club's on the list, by the way, but
It's
medical
not.
marijuana dispensary is. Absolutely. So, we're just trying to fight to keep our quiet neighborhood a quiet neighborhood. And
Understand. If anybody else is coming up, please just new information, because we have mentioned.
So when they purchased the property, they knew the zoning.
Yeah.
Residential with mixed use. As soon as we make that change, obviously, like we've been talking about, sorry to repeat, now, who knows what's going to happen in the future? Why are you changing? And if anything, you should change it all to residential R1. Why are you going with mixed use? That makes no sense at all, especially after, if it's only a small number of units and they're all residential, why not make it residential?
You can't build multifamily in a residential, in R1 district.
Okay, how about, she knew that when she bought the property.
Yes.
Put in single-family homes, whatever. If they're nice, that helps the property, but you're just throwing us a wild card here, and to tell you the truth, you're just gonna force me out. I'll hightail it out of here. And I have a feeling other people will as well. You have to be responsible with your zoning, and this is not responsible, making that a multi-use property. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to tell everybody, Robin and I talked, and we're not going to put a road through there. We understand what you're saying. We're not going to put anything in writing. I mean, both of us stand in here, you can take our word. We're the kind of people you don't have to worry about. But I mean, this keeps going round and round, and I want everybody to know I've built for 30 years. We can build condos here if we want. And we can build single-family homes here, right now, tomorrow, right? So, and we can cut down every tree that's here. And we don't want to do that. So, sure.
For 60, 70 years, that was an aviation club, Alto Cocinas, so on and so forth. And they used to be an average, 50 to 75 people, 100 people there at night.
Sure.
Okay?
I was there.
They had 2 entrances.
right?
Now you want to put a 3rd one. But you just said you're not going to do that.
We're not gonna do
Why
that.
do we need a 3rd one? I've never seen gridlock along the roads before on Linden or on West 8th Street.
Well, if there's a fire, it's better if there's 2 entrances on something like this, correct?
And truthfully, and if I may.
Again, this,
If I may, if there was a fire, realistically, would anyone want to travel between 2 homes? It won't, and let's think of the chaos that could ensue. That's all I wanted to say. So I do appreciate you two going back and revisiting that. And now it is on record that there will not be an easement in between there if this rezoning is to proceed.
We're gonna take the plans and Robin and I are gonna relook at them. That's all I'm gonna say right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which is why we're here. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, I'm sorry.
is it a break of protocol to move the discussion on this item and to vote out of sequence of the agenda? Is it protocol to do that?
No.
Can we move to discussion on this item only and to vote before we address the other issues on the agenda?
Let's follow the protocol that we have. It probably would make the meeting go faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta follow the protocol.
The last one will be pretty quick. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next item then, or last item on the agenda, which has to do with, you going to talk about this, Mr.?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the deliberations is next. That's an item of new business. Or would you like us to speak about it first before you deliberate?
Yeah, let's discuss this and get that part out of the way here.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll come to the podium.
I'm staying.
Mr. Waldinger's come up there.
Sir?
I don't have the agenda with me. Would you mind reading the intro? Sorry. Thank you.
I can read it.
The request of the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission is to review and make recommendations for minor amendments to the zoning ordinance.
Yes, thank you. This is probably deja vu. Thank you very much. Probably deja vu for you because I know we just went through this process, I believe, 2 months ago. We did adopt a few minor amendments to the zoning ordinance back then. In the process of doing so and updating the books, we found a minor mistake that was made at that time. We've also discovered a mistake that was made in the original adoption of the zoning ordinance relative to golf courses and the fact that golf courses under private ownership are not a permitted use in many of our districts. And so this a minor amendment kind of remedies that by adding a couple of definitions, one for a clubhouse and one for a golf course itself. And then it edits the definitions of recreation facility commercial, private, and recreation facility public in order to eliminate golf course from there and make golf course a permitted use in the conservation residential district. And then it also includes some accessory uses that can be used with the golf course. You'll notice also, as we're going through the districts, it corrects the mistakes that I mentioned about family child care home and group child care home, making them permitted uses and not conditional uses as was intended. And then adding requirements if a new golf course is proposed, because golf course would be a conditional use that would go before the supervisors. So those are the amendments. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look them over. They're nothing major, they're more the golf specific, and then curing the issue about the family child care homes. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go back up to number one, the first item on the agenda for tonight, which was the replot of lands for Bethsaida Holdings. Subdivision plan to show the creation of a 2,936 square foot parcel A and a 335 square foot parcel B from 3220 West 32nd, which are to become an integral part of 3210 West 32nd Street, creating a 23,600 113 square foot parcel of 9,424 square foot residual lot in tract 23.
Motion to approve? Second?
Any discussion on this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. All right, now we'll go back to the rezoning here. 3531 LLC for property located at southeast intersection of Westlake Road and Linden Avenue, and address is 531 Westlake Road, now zoned MU1, neighborhood mixed use, and R1 single family residential, asking the parcel be classified as MU1.
I will make a motion to not recommend.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, before we vote, or I make a substitute motion, which I think would be in order, striking so many people left before the decision, I thought people would want to see what happened, but let me, I'll just speak for myself, how I process this. For us as a board, our mission is looking at the greater Mill Creek area, not just any one neighborhood. That being said, one of the things that brought me back to Mill Creek almost 30 years ago, when I could have gone anywhere in the country, was that Mill Creek has neighborhoods of 1,000 square foot houses, 2,000 square foot houses, and much bigger houses. I wanted my children to go to a school with kids from multiple socioeconomic areas, where people take pride in neighborhoods, and my sense is you probably take more pride in your neighborhood than much more affluent neighborhoods. So I think that is a powerful witness that you give to us, just about your advocacy. But we need to look at the larger Mill Creek area. We need to look at livability. We need to look at potential tax revenue. There's multiple things to see what is good development for this township. In terms of this parcel, I think probably something everyone could agree on is it came from, as I understand it, a time when zoning was horrible, because there's no way anyone would design a lot like this. My guess is the Aviation Club owned the land, started to sell off lots, kept an easement for themselves so they had an area of egress, but didn't want to have builder lots, or I don't know how, I was at the club many years ago. Maybe they wanted people to be able to look into the woods versus someone's backyards, right? I see some people nodding their heads. So it's a horrible lot. It's a horrible lot, which doesn't say anything about the neighborhood, but in zoning today, we would not do it this way. So I, kind of like Doug, hold a couple of perspectives. I think, I hope people would be able to develop their land, and I'm a supporter of that. And yet I look at this issue as it is, and I say to myself two things. It is not technically spot zoning, but it is driving a wedge between two residential streets. And the MU1 is very diverse. If you looked at all of things, lots of things could go in there, 60% coverage, not including, I don't think, roads. It could be very densely packed. And the truth is, once zoning takes place, things change. And it may not be any bad intentions, but the fact is, things change. So for myself, I, at this point in time, cannot support the rezoning. However, I did take note of what Mr. Molina said, and I honestly don't see it as a threat. But when you own land, you want to develop it. And my concern for the neighbors is be careful what you ask for, you might get it. All those trees could come down, lots of development up in the front to match it. So I will again ask our solicitor, our parliamentarian, would it be in order, here we have a motion on the floor, but would it be in order to make a motion to table before voting on that? Because I personally would like to see if there can be some more conversations between the owner, the potential developer, and the neighbors. I don't think my view will change, but again, this has been a passionate meeting. And I say this as somebody who backs up on Asbury Woods, who's pretty confident that's not going to change. Unfortunately, you're in a situation where it probably will change, unfortunately, for everyone who lives on those two streets. So I would, from my sense, want to give at least a little bit more opportunity for conversation between the neighbors and the developers if that can work out. And that's up to the two of you. It's not for the board to facilitate that. So I ask the question, is it appropriate to make a motion to table, or do we need to vote on this first before tabling?
We would need to vote on this before tabling.
All right. Well, I would just say to the board, my personal sense would be to table, give them a month, as I think one of the residents said, maybe for some further conversations. That's my sense.
Thank you.
I don't think
Go ahead.
Well, we can't.
This is the discussion portion with the board.
Yeah,
Further public comment, no, not at this time.
go ahead. Are you
I
done?
don't think either way it should be rezoned, so tabling it doesn't change that I don't think.
Okay.
First,
All right.
point of order, you need a second to.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor. We need a second, then we can have any further discussion.
There's already a second, Mr. Chairman.
There is a second to
Who
it?
seconded it?
You did.
We're in discussion on it.
Yes, you did, Mr.
Oh.
Yes, there's a second.
Yeah.
With respect to the motion to deny, there is a motion and a second.
There was a motion and a second.
To deny.
Who seconded it?
Nobody.
No, not his motion. We're not talking about his motion, we're talking about
I
mine.
understand that.
Yeah.
I understand.
However, can I make a statement?
We have to vote first.
So
You're
We're still in the discussion.
still in the,
Let me just mention something here. So what is going on, what I'm reading is you have to watch what you're asking for, because I agree with you, Mr. Molina can take down all the trees and develop it in the fashion that he wants, which might not be what you guys want. But when they turn around at the meeting right now and say, we're not gonna put that road in, you know what they're doing? They're compromising. So I would seem to agree that this would be the type of issue that should be tabled, because you have some developers that are willing to work with you guys. And we can all be more aware, I think we've all learned a lot today, but we could also, in that neighborhood, you could end up winning the war and losing the battle, maybe. So we all need, which is I think what you are saying.
except you can win the battle and lose the war.
Yeah, did I say it backwards? Yes.
If you change the zoning, though, and that's what we're here for.
Yes.
The zoning. If you change the zoning, anything can happen. Right now, they're very limited on what they can do with that little piece of property. Very limited. And you're right, they can go down and clear cut the whole thing.
Yes.
But they can do that either way.
Either way.
Either way. It's
Either
their
way.
property. They can do whatever they want with it.
Okay.
But they can't build townhomes and everything else behind everybody's house.
Okay.
So, and I agree with you, but my counter to that is, I hope my sense is I think it would be better for no one to come out as winners or losers tonight, that to give at least a month for further conversations. And if there's no resolution, then we come back and we vote next month.
But excuse me, Mr. Chair. First off, I don't want to speak on behalf of the board, so I'll speak on behalf of myself. I want to compliment you on your presentation. I know it's not easy to come to the podium and publicly speak. I just found your arguments were well-versed, you were organized. It's a very passionate issue, as you even see from some of the conversation up here. I just want to compliment you all, every one of you that came up to the podium. You did an excellent job. I just don't know, Dave, if any conversation between the developer and this group is binding. The developer can say anything in the world, and I think that's what Scott's saying. The developer can say anything to take and get the rezoning.
Not that they would. We're not saying that they're
Not that they
crooked
would.
people or anything.
But-
We're not trying to say that.
But to counter the issue of possibly clearing the land, I can't believe that someone would take the expense to clear this land just to make a retribution to this neighborhood.
Oh, no, they wouldn't do it for that reason.
They wouldn't do-
Might
I mean,
have to
that'd be-
develop it in a different fashion.
Right, but that'd be multiple thousands of dollars wasted on their part to clear the land just as a retribution to
Oh,
this neighborhood.
I'm not saying it's a retribution. I'm saying you're forcing them into developing it in a different fashion.
I see. Well,
Yeah.
I just want to let this neighborhood know that
We have a motion and a second.
I'm still
With,
Do not. Oh, we do not?
let me clarify. My understanding and what I heard was that there was a motion by Scott
Yes.
to not recommend, and that Mr. Prozan seconded that. That is the motion and second that is on the table.
But I still have the floor.
Mr. Fugate's proposed motion is not on the table at this point in time.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a second, we have a motion
Can
and
still
a
talk.
second.
Yes.
Okay, and we are now in the discussion phase, which where we belong. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I have the floor of discussion.
Sir.
correct? I don't sit on this board as a developer or a contractor. I don't have the experience that the contractors and developers in this board have. But I sit on this board as a resident, a 60-year resident in this community. And I want to tell you that from my vote is going to be empathy with every one of your positions. And I agree with you. And so when it comes to my vote, I'm going to be agreeing with you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so first of all, I want to apologize to that lady that was sitting over there. I did not mean to yell at her, I just wanted order, so I do want to apologize to her for that. Secondly, be careful what you wish for, because as it sits exactly now, if we deny this motion, she can take that 15 feet and put a road through there and put a house back there, and nobody can stop her. So just be careful what you wish for, because that could go in as a driveway, and we have no control over that.
There should,
You go in.
you gotta keep communicating if you can.
I lived on Marshall Drive. I know that neighborhood well. I like that neighborhood. I used to walk to the store when I was a little kid, when it used to be the Five and Dime. It was right down the street from me. I can't even remember the name of it.
Five and Dime.
It was I'm old. So,
Now it's the 10 or 20?
what was it? That's it. Well, before, it wasn't a pharmacy then. It was before it was the pharmacy that I used to go to. I'm really old. I just don't look it. So I empathize with all of you. And I don't think it's a proper use to make that multi-use. I just don't think it is. It brings on too many things you could go back there that are not appropriate. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
I want to
All right,
say,
any fur, oh,
before everybody else walks out, I want to get this. I'm not in favor of delaying this any further, but I do think there needs to be more conversation between you and the developers, because I think there are win-wins on both of your sides. And we'll get into that, and if you stick around, we can talk about that. But I don't see any reason to prolong this.
Also,
any other comments or
you might want to
discussion?
reiterate that no matter what we vote today, the supervisors can do whatever they want when it comes to that.
Yes.
And they do.
We are only a recommending body. That's all we recommend to the supervisors. They don't have to follow anything we say.
And they often don't.
Okay. Is that it for discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion? You want to restate your motion? Just,
I made a motion to deny the request.
okay.
I second it.
All right. You seconded it. All discussion is done. All in favor of the motion made
Aye.
Aye.
by a raise of hands, or so we can, okay? All right, very good. And anyone opposed?
We are not recommending.
And that's simply because I would say, I concur, but I would think it would be good to give you a month, but the board is.
Okay. Now. Okay.
Now we go on to the next.
Now we go on to the last item here, which, I can find it first. There it is. Find my glasses. It is the subdivision, I'm sorry, wait a minute. The minor amendment to the zoning ordinance that requested the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission to review and make recommendations for minor amendments to the zoning ordinance. Is there any discussion we had before we have a motion made? Nope. Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve that. Seconded
Second.
by someone. Any for discussion now? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? You done good. Any further business to discuss?
I will make a motion to dismiss.
I don't have anything.
To adjourn.
The yoga and.
To adjourn.
To adjourn. To adjourn.
I hear a second on that motion. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
7:22.
Not your.